Do you have a hard time running at a low heart rate? Now, I'll admit that that's a bit of a leading question because unfortunately, despite low heart rate running being one of the #1 most critical factors to success, it's also one of the hardest things for runners to do. Beginner runners, advanced runners, 5K runners, runners just wanting to lose weight, casual hobby runners, trail runners, marathon runners, and triathlon runners will all reach their goals quicker if they can run at a low heart rate 75 to 80% of the time. Here's the good news. Your difficulty running at a low heart rate might not be your fault. And fixing the issue could be easy if there's something broken in the heart rate training system that you have in place. Let's fix that system and make sure you have got the best chance to set yourself up for success. What's up, motivators? My name is Taren, and when ordinary people want to accomplish something personally extraordinary in endurance sports, they choose Motive training plans. Let's do it. Chris Bumstead is an athlete who uses our app to train for triathlons. He had completed 4 half Ironmans and 3 Ironmans using online template training plans. He got to the finish lines of races just fine, but never felt very confident in those races. In 2019, he started using our app, which uses a low heart rate training system that allowed Chris to get faster literally every single year. Chris eventually chopped an hour off his half Ironman time, completing Barrelman 70.3 in 4 hours and 46 minutes. He thought he would never be able to go under 5 hours, and he's even smashed his all-time 10K run personal best just in training runs. Chris is of course putting in a lot of work, and there's no secret sauce behind our low heart rate training methods. We just make sure that Chris and all of our athletes don't have any glaring errors in how they do their low heart rate training. We find that there are 4 spots where athletes tend to go wrong with low heart rate running. First, have you ever looked at your watch and thought, that heart rate can't be right? You might be right. Certain heart rate monitors can be off by as much as 40 to 50 beats per minute. Seriously. Wrist-based heart rate monitors are the worst offender for giving incorrect heart rate data. They are really accurate while walking around throughout the day and sleeping, which we'll talk about in a second, or even while on the bike, but when it comes to giving accurate heart rate data while on the run, they just don't cut it. If you want accurate heart rate data, you need a chest or arm strap heart rate monitor that doesn't jiggle around. Next, when we first launched our app, we used a very common MAFFETONE method for finding our athletes' low heart rate zone 2 running caps. We found that for 20 to 30% of our athletes, the numbers just didn't work. Athletes would be running easy, but their heart rate would be 25 beats higher than their MAFFETONE heart rate cap. So we switched to using a simple test to make sure every athlete isn't using some generic calculation, and instead they're using their personal physiology of their own maximum and minimum heart rates. We start our athletes with a max heart rate test where the athlete does a 2-mile easy jog warm-up, then 1 mile at a fast tempo pace, then 400 meters at a max effort, then a final 400 meters pushing harder at every 100 meter mark, all with no breaks in between. This should get us a maximum heart rate reading. Then we get athletes to measure their resting heart rates by wearing a running watch or a smartwatch with an optical heart rate sensor to bed for a few nights. Then we look at the lowest heart rate that was stored from those nights. These 2 tests give us the measurements we need to get your unique heart rate training zones. The third step is getting the right calculation for your zones. The 180 minus your age or 220 minus your age calculations might be accurate for 60 to 70% of athletes, but they're going to be incorrect by either small or large amount for almost everyone because they're just an arbitrary guess. But in our case, from step 2, we know your unique heart rate physiology, so we can use the Karvonen formula that actually uses your data and calculates your heart rate zones much more accurately than most other methods. In our app, we get our athletes to enter their maximum and minimum heart rates from step 2, and those heart rate zones are inserted specifically into the right workouts so athletes know that their heart rate is calculated correctly and when and how to use those heart rate training zones. If you aren't using our app, you can use a calculator that's free on our website and linked in the description below that will generate your heart rate zones for you as long as you've done the test specifically laid out in step 2. Don't leave just yet because you have to know the most important thing, which is the correct way to make low heart rate runs easier. It's not just enough to have those heart rate training zones set for you. While a lot of people will calculate their heart rate zones and then head off and start running, I think they're missing out on one of the easiest and best tools we can use to make low heart rate running easier: hills. And this might surprise you, but hear me out here for a second. While most people find that their heart rate skyrockets on hills and they have to walk, our app actually encourages people to use hills for their long runs. Here's the thing, we're not talking roads with gentle hills, we're talking serious hills, hiking and mountain bike trails. Long, steady runs are the hardest workouts to keep your heart rate low. But by going off-road and going up into gnarly trails, the trails tend to be so gnarly that in a lot of cases you have no choice but to walk. So these hills and trails create built-in walk breaks that naturally keep your heart rate low. The trails give an added training effect of creating some side-to-side stability, which really helps overall run performance, and being out on trails and soft surfaces decreases the likelihood of injury. If you do these 4 things, you'll have a much easier time with all of your low heart rate running. Spend 75 to 80% of your total annual training hours under your Zone 2 heart rate cap, and you'll have an easier time running longer, losing weight, getting faster, staying injury-free, and reaching whatever running goal you have in mind. Now, of course, as you get closer to a race and hitting specific paces becomes important, you'll want to spend more time on the road, but hopefully with the system we've worked out together, you'll have an easier time transitioning to the road because you've built that foundation with the right zones, the right equipment, and the right runs, making it easier for you to build that foundation out on the trails. Thank you for watching Motivator. If you are a beginner or age group runner, consider subscribing for our weekly videos made specifically for ordinary people looking to accomplish something personally extraordinary in endurance sports. And if you want to dive more into 5 easily fixable reasons you're having a hard time running at Zone 2 heart rate, click the video on the screen right now to see our full guide on how to fix that. Later, motivators.